Hey guys, this is Taylor 5877. This is kind of going to be a change from the videos I normally post, which are me playing Injustice 2 Mobile. Since I've been a kid, one hobby I've enjoyed is collecting sports cards. And my kid started collecting Pokemon recently, and it kind of got me back into cards, and it's something we've kind of done together since. And I've never actually sent my own cards off to get graded. Now, with COVID going on, the main companies, PSA, BGS, and even SGC, are having long wait times to get cards back. And I did some research on YouTube, and a company called GMA is another company that grades. And yes, they're not as reputable, but looking at the videos I've seen, they do actually look at, care, and seem to have at least get a decent evaluation of your cards. The turnaround time is really fast, and it was really inexpensive. The slabs are nice protections for the cards, and so just considering cost and everything of getting our cards back, and that it was mine and my son's cards, I decided to send a 10-card order. There's 3 of mine and 7 of his cards, just kind of to see what we got. And I wanted to go over that order, and I wanted to show, and since I got to look at all these cards, clean them up myself, prepare them to send off for grading, I kind of wanted to go over the grades and some of the things, some of the qualities of the cards that got graded, what they did, and try to help show people. I'm not going to say what you can get away with, but what some cards, little flaws they had that I noticed, and the grades you can expect with them. So I'll just start now, and now that you're just staring at a granite countertop for 2 minutes. First card I graded was a Select Concourse Kyler Murray. Fairly inexpensive card, but you can see it graded a Gem Mint 10, and you can see in the front, I mean, the centering's great, definitely 10. What you'd expect on a 10. The surface is really nice. There's nothing wrong with a corner and edge. And flip the card over. The back is off a little bit left to right. I had 3 of these, and this was actually my weakest one. But it's off left to right, but not to where it's going to rule it out from being a 10 from any of the other companies, if that's the only thing wrong with it. But you can see there's nothing wrong with a corner edge. And so, I mean, I think a Gem Mint 10 is absolutely appropriate for that card. Next card was a Kyler Murray Optic Base. And I'm sorry, a lot of scratches and marks are showing up that are not on the card. I think that's from my greasy fingers. But you can see that the centering is worthy of a 10. It's off a little bit left to right. So it's not totally perfect, but cards even graded a 10 by other companies don't have to be either. The only flaws I saw in this card, let's see if I can get it to come up. There's a print line underneath his shoulder right here. Let's see if I can make that show up. You see that? That's actually on the card. It's a total of about 1 centimeter in length, but it's just a really small print line. It doesn't go all the way up and down. It's just there. And there's also a little dot in the bottom gloss of this card. Right there. It's right below the R in Murray. It's right on the border. But the corners, edges were all good. The rears, good centering, no corners pushed in on the back or anything. And so, I mean, I'm a novice to grading, so I don't know if you expect to get away with flaws like that and get 10s on some cards, but that's what it got. And just to let you know, all these chrome cards had those small print lines that are on almost all of these. All of these had a few. And this was Von Miller RPA. I've had this in my collection for a while. I'm an Aggie, so I watched Von a lot when he played at Kyle. So this was kind of a PC card. And I looked this card over. The corners were absolutely perfect. So I said, why not send it in? At least to get it in a holder. Of course, I say the corners are perfect. I'm going to turn it over and show you a little wear to the back corners. But this card was really nice. I actually expected this card to get a 9 or even an 8, just because these thicker cards they're just susceptible to damage, small dings, especially on the rear corners. But you can see there's a little touching to that bottom right corner, but it's not bad. And the surface was clean, and I flip it over, and there's a little touching to these top two corners. The bottom left is really good. See a little touching on the top left, a little bit of touching on the top right, and to the bottom right, but that's really good for one of these jersey cards. Like I said, I really expected a 9 on this, or I was hoping for a 9, but it got a GMA 10. And now we start with my son's cards, and these are just some base Prism. The next few are just going to be some base Prism rookies, and what you see is marks. That's the fingerprints that are on the sleeve. This card, the front surface is totally clean. You can see the centering's pretty good for Prism. I mean, that's well within normal Gem Mint 10 standards. There's a little piece of fuzz in the gloss that's right, if you see it right below his elbow, I'm kind of moving it in and out of the light. That actually is on the card, and a lot of these cards have that. And the rear of the card was in good shape. You see a little white on that corner, but I think it's just a fuzz from the border. But the corners were all sharp, typical of what you see on a card that gets Gem Mint 10. So, like I said, it has the small flaw, but GMA said it's still within their standards for Gem Mint 10. Next card was an AJ Brown rookie card in Prism, and it got a Gem Mint 10 as well. I actually see the only flaw on this card shining in the light right now, and that was right there. There's a little bitty mark. There's a couple millimeters long that actually is on the card. But other than that, nothing you see is actually on the card. It's on the case of the graded sleeve. So GMA said that was not enough to push it below a Gem Mint 10, so it got Gem Mint 10 as well. Now we go to a couple baseball cards that are not chrome cards. This is what card my son pulled while we were watching the World Series, which I know that's going to get some funny comments considering he's an Astro, but we still like the guy. But we actually didn't notice, we're not baseball collectors, so we didn't notice the vintage stock, which is what it's numbered out of 99. But this card, other than a back rear corner, I looked it over, it was absolutely, I mean, everything you expect of a 10. I mean, the corners aren't touched, there's no wear to the border. The back border and corners are good. And you can see just a little bit of touching on that back right corner. But they didn't feel it was bad enough to drop it to a 9, so it got a Gem Mint 10. Next card is Vladdy Jr. and Allen and Ginder. My son really likes some of the goofy cards in this set. So he bought one pack and pulled this card. So it's, and one thing I like about GMA, their affordability. This is, I mean, what's this, a $2, $3 card raw? But I mean, he had a decent rookie season, but big things are expected. And I paid $4 plus the shipping, and this card's protected for my son. He gets to look at it, shuffle through it, and we know the card's protected. But this card was, I mean, there's really nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with the corner and edge. Maybe the centering was a little, the top to bottom was a little off to the top, but not bad. I mean, so that got a Gem Mint 10. Next card was another Prism card he pulled, and like I said, it's Aggies. This was a big card for us because Sternberger's obviously an Aggie. And you can see it's well within standards for Gem Mint centering, a little bit off left to right. These are kind of hard to see top to bottom, but there was no issue with the surface, corners, edges, and the same true of the rear of the card. The next card is our only card that we sent off that got a 9, and I actually expected this. I'll be honest with you, I actually wanted this card to get a 9. I mean, he obviously had a great rookie season and shows a lot of promise, and being in New York adds some. But this card has a little dimple right underneath his right hand. And like I said, I expected this card to get a 9 because of that. The centering was great, but you could see that little dimple on the card. That other mark is not on the card. It's just that little dimple underneath the football. But other than that, the card was totally clean. And they saw it and deemed that enough to give that a mint 9 and not the Gem Mint 10 that the rest of this order. Now this card has got the same little mark underneath his shoulder that the Optic did. But other than that, the front was totally clean. Totally clean. Front and back, you see there's no wear on the corners. Everything was in great shape like you'd expect from a Gem Mint 10, but they didn't deem that one little print line enough to bump this down to a 9. But I wanted to show you on this Daniel Jones. I've got a Kyler PSA, and it's not quite as large, but one of the reasons this card got a 9, besides the left-right centering is probably not up to 10 standards, but you see the same type dimple, and there's some scratches on the case of this card, but you see the same dimple, and then on the back of this PSA 9, let's see if I can get it to show in the camera. Let me find it first so I can show you. There's yeah, it's right underneath the Q for quarterback. There's like a piece of fuzz. That is actually on the card. So I know when I've been buying cards, I've wondered if some of these 9s are really up to the standards that the other companies that the other companies do. And I mean, for the one example I have of the similar series cards, yeah, the GMA 9 was very similar to the PSA 9. So anyway, I appreciate you guys listening and watching this video, and I just wanted to show it for if anybody else out there had ideas to what GMA's service. And just to let you know, I sent off cards and I got them back in exactly 10 days. I'm pretty sure they shipped on the 7th day that they say the service time is. So they were still putting cards out in what they say on their service time, and I really appreciated that. I've got an order from SGC that's a week late now, and I hear that it's up to that orders are actually going several weeks late on that. But anyway, me and my kid were able to have a lot of fun. I know these cards don't hold the value that PSA, BGS, and SGC cards do, but I mean, I'll be honest with you, to evaluate their service, I appreciated the time. They absolutely looked at the cards, and the cards that they didn't feel were up to Gem Mint standard, it got a 9, just like it should. So anyway, that's my evaluation. I appreciate you guys watching, and this little detour from video games for all my subscribers. I'm sure I'll get other people watching. So besides that, but thank you for watching. Bye.